Hi, welcome to Scriptures and Stitches. I'm Connie and I'm so happy you stopped by to sew with me. I've been doing some shop hopping around Texas and I've hit quite a few stores and picked up a lot of gorgeous block patterns from the different stores. Unfortunately, isn't that pretty? This is from So Special Quilts. So Special Quilts in Katy, Texas. That's a mouthful. But these patterns are made for Accuquilt. And not everybody has an Accuquilt. And not everybody is real comfortable with cutting and sewing on the diagonal. So instead of this D-cut, or we're also going to replace this I cut right here. Instead of that, we are going to do our flying geese the 4 at a time way. So here's that D cut, but it's a flying geese. There's 4 of these in blue. There's 2 in red and white, but see this over here? We're gonna do the 4 in a 4 at a time method. So we're not going to do this I cut. We're going to do another flying geese. So we've got 4 red and white flying geese, 4 blue and white flying geese. This is a 2-inch square, 2-inch square, 2 by 3.5 inch right here. And then this is our 3.5 inch. These blocks are they all finish at 9.5. So that means that it is a 9 patch. Basically, this isn't going to be a 9 patch, but basically a 9 patch with 3.5 inch blocks. This one, just so pretty, is going to be put together just a little bit different. So let's get to it. So for this block, we're going to make 4 flying geese that are red and white, like I said, 4 flying geese that are blue and white. Now, in this method, 4 at a time, no waste, this bigger block is your goose. This is your main goose, the main body of the goose. The small block, the small square, is going to be the wings, you might say, or I call it the sky, the outside, the background. But of course we change it background and main color. So you're going to take for this particular pattern, this is 4.5 inches. Your wings are cut from 2.5 inch square. And you're going to draw your diagonal line on this wing and line it up diagonally across the block like this. Then you're going to sew a scant 1/4 inch on each side of this line. Cut these in half and press them open, and then you're going to use these 2 blocks on these corners to make your 4 at a time flying geese. Here we go. Okay, let's see if I can, looky there. Cut in between the 2 stitch lines along your drawn pencil line. Come up with this little heart shape. Now, this does not look like very much of an overlap. It's not enough of an overlap. It'll be enough of an overlap as soon as we get the other square on there. So let's press these back. And come in with our other square. This, again, this is a 2.5 inch square going on this corner. Scant 1/4 inch on each side of this pencil line. And that is real time, boys and girls. That is a perfect flying goose. And see, you've got your 1/4 inch seam allowance right there. Let's press these open, and then we're gonna block them. We're gonna trim them. I do not have a wing clipper. What I do have is a 3.5 inch by 24 inch ruler, and these blocks are 3.5 by 2 inches. So let's point out a couple of things. 3.5, half of that is 1 3/4 inches. There's a little dot right there. It's 1/4 inch in and 1 3/4 inches across. We're going to match this dot to this V, and then this 2 inch line right here is going to match up with this seam. Let's see if it actually works that way. Now, I use these little rubber grippies to keep my ruler from slipping around. And looky there. Perfect. What we're doing is making sure that this edge up here is straight, and get rid of those dog ears. And then we're trimming it down to size, because this particular, with this measurement, we've got it a little bit too big. Turn it around. Again, there's that center dot that's going to go right there in that V. Get it level. We're going to have this corner of the ruler right there at the seam. And looky there. Perfect. Absolutely perfect flying goose. Let's trim up the rest of them. The raw size of these is 2 inch by 3.5. This one's just a slight bit off, but it's not much, so we're going to go with it. See, this one right here is just the tiniest bit off, but it's not going to be enough to matter. Not in this particular pattern. Again, we're matching that center dot with that V right there. This 2-inch mark intersects with this seam. When it doesn't slip. Beautiful. All right, I'm going to make the other 4 for this block out of the blue and the white, and then we're going to put the whole block together. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and lay this out. Now recall that this right here, this eye block, is made a different way. We're not doing this. So instead of cutting the eye block, which is this one right here, red and then on the white background, we are going to just do a B. That's the same size as this. And this right here is your flying goose. So we've got 4 red and white flying geese, 4 blue flying geese, this H patch here, and then 2-inch, 2-inch, and the 3.5. Let's see if we can get it laid out. 3.5, let's see. 3.5 there, and there, and there, and 3.5. This makes this little corner that looks like it's an arrow point, a pointing arrow. All right, now the blue points toward the center. And the red points to the center. It just looks like it's going a different direction because it's the background. There you go. Looky there. And you remember I said this didn't look like a 9 patch? It is a 9 patch. Here's how I'm going to sew this. I'm going to sew these together. Right here. Then I'm going to sew this to it. So that's going to be the corners. Then I'm going to sew these together. And when I do this, I'm going to be very careful to stitch right through this, or not through this, but on that side of this little X. Don't know if you can see that very well. That little X, I'm going to stitch to this side of it in order to not cut my points off. And then I'll have these, and then I'll have a 9 patch. Then I'll stitch those together, those together, and then I'll stitch all 3 of the rows together. I will be right back. Okay, I got my pretty little corners, and make sure when you put these corners together, because they're opposing like this, that you have them going in the right direction. So my seam is here. These don't necessarily, well, they kind of look the same, but make sure you got them going the way you want them to go. All right, I'm going to put these together. Oh, and don't forget to square them up. All these little pieces sometimes get unsquare, and you need them square. Be right back. Okay, and in case you're wondering, yes, I did catch myself on the direction of my little points here. So in order to make sure these points match, what I am going to do is put a pin right through that point and right through that point. This pin is going to be straight up and down until I get everything else pinned. Straight up and down, just like that. Get that straight, get that straight. Then I'm going to take another pin and I'm going to put it right here. And I'm going to take another pin and put it right there. Now for this pin, I'm going to kind of go a little bit sideways because I'm going to stitch right up to it. I'm going to leave that right there, right in that spot until I get almost to it, and then I'm going to just kind of start drawing it out so that I keep those points together. And then, now you see those points come together really nicely. I'm going to press my seams open. I don't usually press them open. I usually go one side to the other. But this time we're going to press open. Be right back. All right, let's see if you can watch me do this. I have the pin straight in here, but I went a little bit to the side so I can stitch right up to it. Right through that point. You're seeing this the same time I am. Not bad. Gonna press it open and then we'll stitch the rest of them together. Be right back. And just to be sure you know, yes, I squared my little bitty blocks. Let's see here if I can get you on here. I squared these with my little bitty, this is a Fons & Porter fussy cut template for a 3 inch. It's a 3.5 inch, so it finishes at 3. And that's what I use to square these little teeny tiny blocks. Well, little teeny tiny corners. Alright, now I'm going to stitch these together and these on here, and then I'm gonna make the whole block. I'll be right back. Now this is a pretty block. This is from So Special Quilts, and that's in Katy, Texas. All Texas shop hop. I did press these seams open as well. Don't usually press open, but they have to lay flat. Thank you for watching. Please like and share, and I told you I'd get a little bit better. We're getting there.